In order to get to master something, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of deliberate practice. And we typically are only going to put in that deliberate practice when we're passionate about something, when we enjoy something.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Bob Burg. Previously, episode 820 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 3 years, 2 months, 5 days, and 2 hours since we last recorded that conversation. Probably plus 3 minutes, right? That was then, this is now. Bob, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I am as excellent as can be. Thanks for asking. I was talking to someone recently and they told me that Bob remembers the name of everyone he speaks with at a conference. Is that true, Bob?
Well, not quite everyone, but I used to before I would speak, I'd meet a number of people in the audience, and then I would have them stand. When I started speaking, when I started the presentation, I'd ask everyone who I met, who I exchanged names with, if I heard your name, please stand up and stay standing. And then I'd go around the room calling back the names of the people I'd met. And I did it really just to demonstrate that if you had a system for doing something, since remembering people's names is thought of typically as one of the most difficult things for most of us to do, and it certainly was for me before I learned how to do it. But I would do it at the beginning to demonstrate that if you had a system for doing something, even something that seemed difficult, the chances were good you could do it very well. And I use that as a sort of a premise to the system I would then be teaching.
Well, my oh my, I think it's made you legendary because word of mouth is very powerful, my friend. And yeah, to hear that through the grapevine, as well as I believe systemization is great, but something that's necessary to focus on is the way that you've built the core values of who Bob Burg is. And that seems to be that you truly do care for people. Is that accurate?
Well, sure. I would certainly like to think so. I think any system that you use should be a reflection of your values. So the premise is always the basic values that a person holds. And then, everything that they do from there should be a manifestation of those values.
It's fascinating to read your stories, to read even The Go-Giver. I mean, it's one of those things that you can put on your reading list every year and get back to and just feel refreshed, which is timeless. But it speaks to the voice. There's a voice that we hear amongst other voices, and there's so many other voices, but there's a voice that one person, a human being, is able to discern. How do you discern that voice? The voice that got you into writing the book, the voice that gets you up on the stage, the voice that helps you to remember others?
Well, I mean, I think as human beings, we are programmed in a sense to want to bring value to the world around us, to have something that drives us, something we feel passionate about, something that we believe in. And when we follow that, I think we're off to a good start. Now, aside from following it, we also have to be able to put it within the context of a market for that. So in other words, people have often said, well, just follow your passion and the money will come. Well, that's not really true. It sounds good and it's partly true, but like many sayings, it's kind of incomplete. Indeed, all things being equal, I would always suggest to someone that they follow their passion. Why not? Typically, what we're passionate about is also what we tend to be good at. And in order to get to master something, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of deliberate practice. And we typically are only going to put in that deliberate practice when we're passionate about something, when we enjoy something. I think that's been proven beyond doubt by this time. But there's more to it than just that. There also has to be a market for that which you're passionate about bringing to others. So in other words, if there's something you just absolutely just love doing, and no one's going to buy it, well, then you have a hobby. And that's fine. I mean, I think we should all have hobbies, but that's different from having a viable business. So it's a matter of doing what you're good at and what you're passionate about, and being able to either find an existing market for this or create a market for it if it's something that people don't already know about.
The podcast realm has had both scenarios here. People that love it, right, that are doing it, and of course, people that have seen a way to use it to monetize.
Mhm.
You have a podcast, right, where you're helping others, where you're sharing even more. How's your journey been there? The Go Giver podcast, what's going on there?
Well, we've had it for a couple of years and a few years, I guess. And it's something that's been a very important part of our business. I'm actually taking about a 6 month break from it right now because we're working on some other projects, and we had to let something go, and so it ended up being the podcast. So from the end of or from the beginning of 2020, 2020, we have not been recording any more episodes, but we'll probably pick back up again in July of this year.
That's wonderful. The Go Giver has expanded. Did you see that? Did you envision that it would have touched so many lives? Did you see the way it would have expanded into so many other books?
Well, John David Mann, my excellent co-author and really the lead writer and storyteller, I think we believed from the beginning that there was a market for it and that it would have a certain amount of success. I'm not sure that we saw it was going to be as big as it became, because I'm not sure you can really see that. You can envision it. And of course we did, because we're not going to do anything where we don't expect it to have great success. But it really took off to even a different degree than I think we both were prepared for it to do. And yeah, we're very, very happy, very grateful that happened.
In the midst of everything that you've seen, Bob, it seems rather challenging to measure the value that comes from giving. I mean, you can generalize it, right? And you can say, hey, yeah, when you do give, you do get back in return. Have you found a system that could do that, though, to quantify and qualify the returns of giving?
Yeah, well, of course, when we speak of giving in the context of the Go Giver books, we're talking in terms of providing immense value to others, having a focus on bringing immense value to others. And when you do that, you really create the benevolent context where people are going to feel good about you. They're going to want to get to know you. They're going to like you. They're going to trust you, and they're going to probably want to do business with you. Or if you were talking about the context of leadership, then it's where they're going to allow themselves to be led and or influenced by you. Or if we're talking about a personal relationship, then that's fine. But when you give, which again, when you're focused on bringing immense value to the lives of others, again, it just makes intuitive sense. There's nothing magical about it. It makes actually very logical and rational sense that people are going to be much more responsive to you.
Yeah. Within logic, there's a conversation that pops up. Oh, the conversation that we are going to die. The possibility exists. It could be today or tomorrow. When you are planning, is that in the forefront or the back end of your mind?
I don't think I necessarily think about it. I realize that it's something that's going to happen one of these days, and I don't believe I have a fear of it happening. But I just realize that is part of life, and it's going to happen. So not a whole lot we can do about that. I think we just need to use the time that we have here in the best and most productive way possible.
You said, well, you quoted this from the guy, Scott Fitzgerald, right? The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Are you seeing that being something that's even more applicable every day, or is it decreasing in terms of the validity of it?
Well, the validity isn't increasing. It's a very important saying, and it's I believe very true. I would say that it's more important these days for people to try and keep that in mind, because again, with politics especially, it's become so very divisive that people either love this person or hate this person, or love that person, hate that person. If you try to say that this part of this person's policy, this particular policy is a good one, but this one's not a good one, all you do is you have two sides mad at you, because one side wants you to think that this particular candidate or person is perfect, and the other is that he or she is all evil. And so it's these days it's become more divided than ever, and it's continuing to be that way. So I hope there's going to be a certain point where people realize that it's very, very counterproductive to approach people this way. You know, I often say it that it used to be, especially when it came to politics, it was I'm right, you're wrong. Now it's I'm right, you're evil. And the difficult thing about that is if you believe a person is wrong, you will attempt to persuade them, which means you must engage them in conversation. However, if you believe a person is evil, you're not going to bother engaging them or allowing yourself to be engaged by them, because why would you debate or argue or even, you know, have a conversation with someone who's evil? So I think we need to really kind of realize that even people who disagree with our viewpoints probably ultimately want the same things. I mean, I think most people want to live in a country, want to live in a world where people have are able to live their lives, pursue happiness as they understand happiness, and to live their lives however they see fit, providing they don't infringe upon the lives of anyone else, the rights of anyone else to do the same. I think most of us want to live in a world where people are happy and healthy and prosperous and all those things. The way that the two sides, at least here in the U.S., the two major parties, the way they go about it seem to be diametrically opposed, though it's not. There's oftentimes it's not as diametrically opposed as they think, but sometimes two sides of the same coin in terms of wanting to control others, just in different ways. But you know, I think when we can get to the point where we all understand that most people, not everyone, but most people, their intentions are good, then we can, you know, then we can engage everyone else, those who don't agree with us, and allow ourselves to be engaged by those with whom we don't agree, and talk it out.
Well, Bob, my friend, I can tell you that it's a great pleasure to connect with you and to hear that you've not given up. Instead of double B, you know, we could say double A. Like instead of Bob Burg, we could say, yeah, A Bob, A Burg, right? Because you've done well, my friend. And it is both motivational and inspirational. And I want to say thanks for your service to humanity, because you could have used your life force for something else, but this was your choice. You didn't have to. So thanks for that. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I just wish everyone listening, and I wish you the very best of continued success, and may everyone have a fantastic 2020 and beyond.
Bob Burg, folks, check out the gogiver.com for more information. Bob, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.